My name is Rabbi Altman, A-L-T-M-A-N. I think I've met almost all of you before, almost everybody. Could be. Now, what I'd like to speak about today is extremely important for your happiness, for your success, for your life. It applies to every single day. It is something that is deeply, deeply rooted inside of us, and it's already functioning. It's already controlling a lot of what we do. Now, before we start that, I just want to tell you something very interesting. This is critically important. If you want to be successful in life, you have to be aware of what are the things that are already controlling you, that are motivating your behavior, that are causing you to act in a certain way. If you have a handle on those things, you can do something about it. You can direct it. You can change it. If you're not even aware of it, then it controls you, and you're kind of at its beck and call. Does that make sense? A great quote: until you make the unconscious conscious, it controls your life, and you'll call it fate. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it controls your life, and you'll call it fate. That's what we want to do over here. We want to make the unconscious conscious. Things that are already a program, an app, so to speak, that's running in our minds, in our hearts. We want to become aware of it and say, okay, now how do I use that to maximize what I do in life? Make sense? I'm being very abstract. I'll be very specific in a minute. Okay. Now, we spoke about once before. I don't believe you were here for that, so I'm not going to talk too much time about it. I'm just going to brief, maybe some of you were, about how to change your state in short term. Sound familiar to anybody? Doesn't sound familiar? Did we have a class about that? Yeah, I think we did, right? We spoke about this once before. Short ways to change your emotional state. I'm not going to talk about that right now. I want to talk about a much deeper idea. First thing you have to recognize is what drives most of human behavior. What drives most of the things that we want to do? Now, people say, well, I do a lot because I want money, or I want fame, or I want energy, I want health, right? The reason people do things is not because they want fame or money or energy or health or whatever they want. It's because they want a certain emotion. If I have a lot of money, then I can say, oh, my money enables me to feel a certain emotion. If I have a lot of fame, it enables me to feel a certain emotion. If I don't have the money that I want, or the fame, or the health, or the family, or the love that I want, then it gives me a different emotion. Most of what we do is driven by the desire to have certain emotions. You can boil down almost all of those emotions to 6 major categories. These are called 6 human needs. 6 human needs. They're emotional needs. They're not physical needs. This has nothing to do with Maslow's hierarchy of needs, nothing at all to do with that, yeah? These are 6 emotional needs. It drives almost all of human behavior. Any culture, any belief system that you have, almost all situations, they're going to be driven by these needs. I'm going to spell them out to you, and you'll see how it pans out in your everyday life, in almost everything that you do. Okay, the first one is certainty. You have to feel a sense of security, certainty, of safety in your life. You have to feel certain emotionally that the people around you aren't going to do things to scare you or harm you or hurt you. You have enough food, clothing, shelter. You have enough money. You know that basically the floor is not going to suddenly cave in, or the ceiling is not going to come down. Emotional certainty, you need to have it. If you didn't have emotional certainty, you wouldn't be sitting in this room right now. If you didn't have a place to sleep tonight, you wouldn't be here now. If you didn't know where your next meal is coming from, you wouldn't be here now. You have a certain level of certainty, and you need to have that. As a human being, in order to survive, you have to feel like I'm physically, emotionally, spiritually, intellectually, financially safe. If I don't have that, I can't function. That's number one. A lot of what we do is to try to get certainty. I work in my job in order to have certainty. I exercise in order to have certainty. I may have a cup of coffee to have certainty. I won't have enough energy unless I have some kind of caffeine in my system. I'm not saying that's true, but that could be how you look at it. Okay? That's one thing. Now, if everything in your life is 100% certain, what happens?
You never take any risk.
That's true. But even more than that, an emotional reason that's even more, an emotional feeling that's not so good. If everything is like, I know how everything is happening, what happens?
You take it for granted and...
Okay, you take it for granted, that's true. But even more than that, a negative emotion that comes, if I have everything's 100% certain, I know exactly what's going to happen, same old, every single day. Boredom. You get bored out of your mind. Yeah? You have to have, besides certainty, you have to have uncertainty or variety. You must have variety in your life. You have to have change, chidush, something new, chadash, something's got to be new. If every day you have everything you need, but it's the same thing again and again, you go out of your mind. You got to have uncertainty, you have to have variety. It's a balance between certainty and uncertainty. A lot of the spice of life comes when things are a little bit exciting. Exciting often is I don't know what's going to happen. If it's too much of what I don't know what's going to happen, it's too much uncertainty and I feel scared. I don't have enough certainty, I'm scared, it's no good. You can't have too much uncertainty. But you have to have some kind of variety in a way that you feel comfortable with. Now, what's called variety for you might be different than variety for me. Some people have variety because they have a new food, or they have a new song, or they read a new thing, or hear a new idea. Other people have variety in their clothing, or their relationships, or they're traveling. There's all kinds of ways to have variety. Many ways to have variety. They paint their room a different color. Or they have variety in the place that they're very good. They color, they have a new thing to color. They paint a new thing to paint. They learn a new song, whatever you want. Different rules for variety. Now let's just talk about this on the side, because we're going to mention all the 6 human needs. But on the side, I want to mention something else. There's something called rules. Rules, what's a rule? A rule is what has to happen for you particularly to feel a certain emotion. What has to happen in your mind in order to feel this emotion? I'll give you an example. I don't know what your financial situations are, but I'm assuming none of you are billionaires. Is that fair? Nobody's a billionaire, right? Maybe even not a millionaire. Anybody millionaires in the room? Probably not, right? No millionaires in the room, right? Now, is it fair to say, and maybe it's different for you, but I'm gonna guess that at least 1 or 2 of you would feel that if right now you literally suddenly had $10 million in your bank, post-taxes, how would you feel? Would that change your emotions? Post-taxes, someone gave you $15 million, $5 million directly goes to taxes, and $10 million free and clear, absolutely legal and fine, and it's yours and no problem. $10 million in the bank, it's all yours now. Would that change your emotions? How would you feel?
Happy.
Happy. How would you feel?
Weird.
Good.
Secure.
Just good? On a scale of 1 to 10, how good would you feel?
I don't know, I'll feel weird, like suddenly I have that much money, I don't know what to do.
A little bit scared maybe?
Yeah.
A little bit scared a little bit? Uncertain a little bit? What about you?
I'm elated.
Elated. Good, elated, scared a little bit. What'd you say?
Secure.
Secure. I'm okay. How about you?
Like a relief.
A relief. I don't have to worry about it. I can make it. My future's going to be okay. Now, did anything change right here, right now, because you suddenly got that information? No, right? You just have a rule right here on the spot. In the next 5 minutes, your life is exactly the same whether you have the $10 million, you don't have the $10 million, right? But the rule is I can feel safe, secure. I can feel elated. I can feel happy. I can feel worried if I have $10 million in the bank. The rule is what has to happen for me to feel that emotion. I'll give you another example. I'm not going to do this, but if I would suddenly I'd walk out of the room for a second and come back in wearing a pink tutu and dancing around like a ballerina, how would you feel? How would you feel? Awkward. Awkward.
Confused.
Confused.
This is a good question.
Good. So just absolutely dumbfounded, right? I'm like, wow, what's going on here, right? Because your rule is that someone who's teaching doesn't disappear and come back in a funny costume, especially when it's not gender appropriate, excuse me. Yeah? It's quite surprising, right? So your rule is like, there has to be, right? So there's certain rules. Yeah, now, who determines the rules that you have? You do. You decide. Yeah? True story is a man not doing too well financially, not doing too well in terms of family. You ask him how you're doing. Wonderful. Why? He just had heart surgery about a year ago. They thought he was going to die. And now he's alive. You ask him how he's doing, feels his pulse, he says, I'm alive, it's a wonderful day. His rule for happiness is relatively easy. Certain people's rules for happiness are extremely difficult. In order to be happy, another true story, a guy, very wealthy guy, $5 million. I'm sorry. He has 5 kids, each kid's $1 million, yeah? He has 5 children, happily married, wonderful wife, wonderful marriage, fantastic business. He makes $3 million a year. $3 million a year. This guy, I asked him, are you successful? No. Now, he's in great shape physically also, right? Tons of friends, very, very well liked in his community. I'm not successful. Why? I need to make $3 million in a year. He says, but you are. $500,000 comes from a bonus. And his rule is he's got to make $3 million without the bonus. I know, my heart's bleeding for this guy, right? It's a difficult situation. We can make a collection afterwards and maybe help the guy out to be happy, right? You get the idea, right? That wouldn't work anyway because a collection wouldn't work. He's got to actually make it himself, right? I asked him, are you physically in good shape? Now the guy was something like, 9% body fat, something crazy like that. 9% body, which is actually supposed to be pretty good, I think, as far as I know. I don't know exactly what it is, but it's supposed to be, yeah. He was upset he wanted it to be less, or maybe it was 10, he wanted it to be 9. I'm not sure what the numbers are, but something like that. He was like, the guy was in great, everything. His rules are making him crazy. A lot of people have rules that are highways to misery and dirt paths to happiness. A highway is easy to travel on. You get there very easily. Just roll down the road and you'll wind up there in misery, right? Easy rules to make yourself miserable, difficult rules to make yourself happy. Now, what makes you feel variety is different than me. Maybe you feel variety from food or from visiting. For me, variety is I learn a new idea, especially if I can teach it. It's tremendous variety for me, even though my circumstances stay the same. Yeah? Sometimes you look at my desk and I have a small little study, a little room, my little office, right? My desk, sometimes the same exact things will stay in the same exact place for 2 months. I don't even care. I don't even see it. Yeah? But if I have there's one little notepad, I write new ideas on it. That's the most variety I get from that little notepad. I actually don't have it right now, but it's about this big, tiny little thing. A new idea, ooh, look at that, yeah? I get all my variety from this little notepad, a lot of it. Okay, now, here's another need. You have certainty, you have variety. Another one is significance. You must feel something important about you. There's some importance about you, some greatness. There's something that's unique or valuable about who you are. Now, when I say unique, it doesn't mean you're the only person in the world. It just means you're somewhat elite in this area. For example, could be you play the trumpet. Now, there are a lot of people in the world that play trumpet, but most people in the universe don't play trumpet. There may be 1 million people play trumpet. I have no idea. Yeah? But if you're one of the trumpet players, you may feel, I have significance because I play trumpet. You may feel significant because you have a wonderful collection of, of little figurines, or because you're excellent at cooking, or because you know how to dance, or because you're a sister, or a mother, or a friend. You may feel significant because you studied at Neve Yerushalayim. Yeah? It depends on your rule. But everyone has a need to feel significant, and if they don't feel these needs, we're going to talk about some more also. If you don't do this, you do what you can to get that feeling. You do what you can to fulfill your rules so you can get that emotion. Everyone has this need. It doesn't mean arrogance. It can be arrogance, but it doesn't mean arrogance. It means like, I have to feel like I'm somebody. Okay, good. Next one is the core of humanity. That's love and or connection.
Question.
Yes.
Are these in order of like the most dire need to the...
Great. They're not in order right now, but we're going to talk about an order, and that's a very important question. Yeah, are they in order? We're going to see. Right now, they're not in any connection. They're not in any order. It's just a way of speaking about them. But you're going to see. We're going to make a certain order. You'll see soon. Now, love and connection. Everyone needs that. There are 3 ways you can connect. You can connect to self. You can connect to others. You can connect to God. Everyone gets these needs. In some form. You can get them in a positive form, you get them in a negative form. A little kid who's not getting enough love and connection will definitely get your attention. In a negative way or a positive way. I have a 3-year-old daughter right now. She is a firecracker. She's definitely, thank God we have 11 children. She is the strongest, most vociferous, outspoken powerhouse that we have. Hands down, no connection. No competition. She's amazing. She's she's 4 now. She's 4 years old. She tells you her opinion. You tell, well, mommy's not going to let you go. Then I'm not going to listen to mommy. I'm going to do what I want. Now, we don't let her be spoiled. We right away give her a little tap right in the mouth. Nice, quiet. Not hurt. We don't hurt her, but just like a little bit like that. Like, it doesn't hurt her. And she gets the message. And she goes like this. Yeah, then we make it a little more. But she gets the idea. Yeah? She's very powerful. Now, she gets love and connection. If you're not paying attention to her, she'll get right up into your face. She'll start pulling your stuff. She says, well, if you don't listen to me, then I'm going to turn your chair over. And she's only 4 years old. No one speaks like that in my house. But she's got she wants it, yeah? Everybody wants it. When you get older, if you can't connect to other people, you connect to self. How do you connect to self? Reading, eating, sleeping. Some people connect to self by smoking or exercise. Or negative things like drugs or who knows what. I mean, smoking is also negative, right? Yeah? Connect to self by overeating, by oversleeping. All kinds of ways of doing that. Taking a drive, a run, that's all kinds of ways you can. You listen to music, that's connecting to yourself. Connecting to others, there's infinite ways to connect to others. And connecting to God, of course, also is different ways. Now, these 4, everyone gets. If you have these, you're happy, but you don't feel fulfilled. You don't feel fulfilled when you get these. Because these are things that they're based on what you receive. I'm certain because of what's outside of me. I get variety of what's outside of me. Significance, it could be because of who I am, But usually it's because of who I am in relation to other people. And love and connection, of course, has to do with what's outside of you. These things you need to get and everyone gets, but it doesn't make you feel deeply fulfilled. The last two, which we're going to mention now, is what leads to fulfillment. See, there's two skills. There's achievement and there's fulfillment. Achievement is a science, which we're not talking about right now. Fulfillment is an art.
Achievement is a science?
Yes. Yes. Achievement is a science, fulfillment is an art. A science can be, if you're excellent at making chocolate chip cookies, if I duplicate what you do, I can produce the same chocolate chip cookies. It's a recipe, literally, yeah? Success leaves clues. That's a science. It might be timing, it might be all kinds, but if I can reproduce what you do, I can make the same results, right? But when it comes to fulfillment, well, what fulfills you is different than what fulfills me. That's more of an art. I can't just duplicate someone else's things because then if I duplicate it for you, then I've made you happy, not me. Make sense? Yeah, but I have to make you, right? Fulfillment's a different story. Now, these last two have to do with fulfillment. First one is growth, or the fifth one is growth. You have to learn, you have to somehow become bigger, a better version of yourself. Deeper, more understanding, more flexible, more creative. Whatever it is, more capable in some way. You have to feel, I'm growing. I'm becoming a better version of what I was, more mature, more powerful, more empathetic, whatever you want, whatever your rules are. If you're not growing, you're dying. If you have tons of money, tons of friends, everything's fantastic, tons of variety in your life, love and connection's amazing, tons of certainty, everything you need, but you're not growing as a person, you feel dead inside. You have to grow. That's why you hear stories of people that have tremendous amounts of money, and they seem to be pretty successful, and they retire, and then a short amount of time afterwards, they go back to work, because they don't feel like they're growing, or they do something new, okay? That's growth. The last one is contribution. You have to feel like you're giving in some way. You have to give. This is a fundamental spiritual idea. Human beings are made in the image of God. God is good and he gives good. The nature of good is it overflows. When something good happens to you, you want to share it with people. Could be when something bad happens to you, you want to share it also. That's another story. But if you have something good, it's much more fun when you share it. Having a delicious piece of cake is lovely and fantastic. If you can share cake with someone that you care about and you love, it's much more yummy. Yeah? Everybody knows that. Much more yummy. Now, let's talk about this a little further. So, oh, by the way, these last two things are what you are. When you grow, you've become different. When you give, it changes you. It's not what I get, it's what I'm giving. Oh, I'm more of a giving person. I'm a different person now. So this makes you feel fulfilled, these two. If you have the first four, you'll be happy, but you won't feel fulfilled. You must have these last two in order to feel a deep sense of fulfillment in life. Okay? Now, question was asked before, great question. Are they in order? There's no order here except for these two groups. But here's what's interesting. Each person has probably what's called a primary need. Ask yourself, of these six, which is the one, maybe it's two, which is the one that you go after the most? I want that feeling of variety more than anything else. I want love and connection. I want growth. I want contribution. I want certainty. Which one makes you tick the most? Which one drives you the most?
Can it change at different times?
It certainly can change, but usually there's a primary one that's, for the most part, that's my life is. You have different moods. Okay, I'm in the mood now for variety. That's totally fine. It's still a need, but it's not your primary need in your life. You can have different periods of time. I would imagine if a person was, let's say, physically and emotionally healthy and had a good social situation and suddenly was thrown into jail for some reason, God forbid, right? Then that would make his need for certainty become much greater. He suddenly becomes very uncertain and needs certainty more than anything else. Or maybe it's love and connection. I'm not sure what it is, right? So there are situations that can shift it, the situations, but usually overall in a steady life situation, there's a certain need that really drives a person. Now this is very important. Imagine you have a husband and wife, and the husband wants certainty. He wants to make sure he knows what happens, when it happens, according to his rules. Yeah? What is the wife like? She likes variety. Could be that's why they got married. Sometimes it happens that one guy's a stick in the mud, and she's interesting, or the other way around. Right? She's like, I'm too much of a stick in the mud. I need some variety in my life. She's all the variety I need. Maybe more than he can handle. Sometimes that happens, right? So they plan a vacation together. Yeah? So he says, okay, great. Let's sit down and let's call the travel agent. Let's, figure it out and we'll plan. In 2 months we'll go on vacation. She says, why do you have to be so old? She says, let's grab our backpacks and the credit cards and run out the door. And he's like, why would you want to do that? She wants variety. She doesn't want any certainty at all. She wants uncertainty. Like, let's make it spontaneous. He's like, we're gonna wind up in a place where the beds are bad and like there's mosquitoes everywhere and there's holes in the screens and the air conditioning doesn't work. And she's like, so we'll go someplace else. And that's part of the fun. He's like, that's not fun. I'd rather stay here. We have our own mosquitoes and bad beds and bad air conditioning, etc. Right? It'll be cheaper too. That's what he says. He says, if we look ahead, then we can save money. She's like, who cares about saving money? We'll have a good time. He's like, well, if we're gonna go, we're gonna spend a lot of money. That's not gonna be good, is it? They're going like this. He's after certainty, she's after variety. Someone told me, I think they suggested in a seminary, one of the seminary girls suggested, the best thing in a situation like that is for him to plan surprise parties for her. He knows exactly what's going to happen, plus or minus, and she's always surprised. Yeah? Fantastic, right? But it's very important to recognize, she needs variety. If I want to be her friend, I have to be involved in that need for variety. I can't, well, why do you want that? And if she wants to be a good relationship with him, she has to say, well, he needs his certainty. So she might be able to plan something like a vacation where he can stay in the hotel and do all the activities like shuffleboard and poker and stuff like that, and she can go out on the safari wherever it is, yeah, with the wild African animals, whatever it is. Okay, now there's another thing here as well. This is very important. There's something called a vehicle. I'm being a little technical right now, but this is actually going to change everything you do. Now, a vehicle is what do you do to get this need? So let's say a person gets their, significance from their money. If I have a lot of money, I feel like I'm important. Or from their body, like if I look in a certain way, I can dance in a certain way, I feel significant. So dancing or working out is their vehicle for significance. Or money is their vehicle for significance. It's the activity, it's the thing that gives them the emotional need that they want. Sometimes you have one thing that provides more than one need. Now here's the thing. If you have one vehicle that provides at least 3 of these needs on a high level, you become addicted to that vehicle. One action, one person, one thing that you do or that you use or you have or something like that you're involved in, I get a lot of my human needs in a very high level from that one thing, that vehicle becomes an addiction for you. It could be a negative addiction. It could be a positive addiction. I don't have a word for a positive addiction. Yeah? Now, I'll give you an example. I have a son who does jujitsu. He's not amazing at it, but he's pretty good. In his group, he's pretty good at it. Okay, it's only one little group, It's only one little group of boys in Jerusalem. Okay, it's not, it's not world competition jiu-jitsu, whatever. It's something. But he's probably one of the best ones in his group, right? What does he get from that? He gets tons of certainty from it. He gets certainty because he goes in there, he says, I know how to take care of this situation. And if I know I get on the bus and somebody's bigger than me, I can protect myself. He gets certainty. Does he get variety? Tons of variety. He learns all kinds of things. Does he get significance? Yeah, he walks around feeling like I'm Mr. Jiu-Jitsu. Not exactly, but I'm exaggerating a little bit. You get the idea, right? Does he get love and connection? He definitely connects to other people, and he gets a lot of attention for it, for sure. And he connects to himself as well. Does he get growth? All the time. Contribution? I'm not sure. Right now, probably not much contribution at all. But he gets 5 out of the 6 in a major way. He's addicted to jiu-jitsu. He loves it. Yeah.
Is that a bad thing?
No, it could be a good addiction.
Yeah, I was wondering actually, even if it's a good addiction, something that's good for you, and it's making all this, like you have all these stuff, is it good to be addicted to something?
Oh, so that's the thing.
If it's something, if too much of anything isn't good.
So that's the thing. So where you're addicted is also where you have your most fear. That's where you're the most afraid of losing. So someone might be very accomplished, but they get a lot of their human needs through one vehicle, like maybe it's their wife, or it's their job, or it's their health, or it's a certain skill. The guy's a piano player, he's afraid of losing the ability to use his hands, or something like that. It's very important, right? But that's kind of the nature of reality. It's not necessarily a bad thing. The main thing you have to recognize, which is a higher level, it's not our topic right now, is to realize, it's you that's great, not the vehicle. True story, not our topic right now. There's a person who was very good in baseball, and he was in college, and he was going to college with a scholarship for baseball. He's very, very good. And he had an eye injury that stopped him from being able to triangulate on the ball. So he could no longer hit or catch. Now, he was very depressed for a period of time. True story, I don't know the person's name, he's not super famous. And eventually someone told him, you're an athlete inside. Your vehicle for being athletic was baseball. But you can find some other vehicle, some other sport where you can bring out the athlete inside of you, where you're also great. It doesn't have to be that. So there's a certain inside core. You don't have to be married to the vehicle. You know what I'm saying? The vehicle sometimes is taken away. That's like a higher level of maturity and functionality. That's another story. Now, very important. If there's some vehicle that you love because it provides so much of your human needs, then you're addicted to it, right? If you're in a situation that doesn't provide for your human needs, it does the reverse. When you go there, when you do that, you feel total uncertainty, but a negative type. You don't feel any variety at all. It's the same old, I just fail, fail, fail. Yeah? Let's say you stink at bowling. Every time, gutter, I can't hit the pins. I can't get that bowling ball down at the end. Can't hit any of those pins. Just can't do it, right? But I get no variety there. Significance, I feel like a 0. Maybe it's even negative. Love and connection, everyone's like, well, I get negative connection. I don't want it. Yep, here comes the bowling ball himself, right? You know, he's Mr. Bowling. Not exactly. Make fun of me, rap me, it's terrible. Growth, no. Contribution, nothing. So you're going to hate that activity, right? You'll feel like, oh, I want to stay away from that. You'll be scared of it. Now, do people go where they feel significant and they feel good or they feel bad? You do things you like to do, you do things you hate to do, generally speaking. You like to do, right? Of course, you gravitate towards the things you feel like you're good at and you like doing them, right? If you want to be successful at influencing somebody, you have to understand what already influences them. If you understand when you talk to somebody, what are their 6 human needs, and we'll talk about that in a minute, how to figure that out a little bit. If you figure out what their 6 human needs are, then you can influence them in the language that speaks to them. So I'll give you an example. First day of school for your son. Yeah, it's kindergarten the next day. I don't want to go. Yeah, he doesn't want to go. He already told you the night before he's not going anywhere, he's staying home with you. He loves you, he cares about you, he knows you, and all those weird, strange people, especially the teacher he's never seen before, he's scared, he doesn't want to go. Yeah? So what do? The night before, you get really clever, before he goes to sleep, you sit down with some of the older kids in the family, right? Or the other people in the family, you sit down and you start doing some projects. You get out some glue, right? And some color crayons or whatever else you do. I don't know what people do these days, right? And you're cutting and making things, right? It's fantastic. And he's like, what are you doing? You can't do this. This stuff you learn in kindergarten. Once you go to kindergarten, you can learn how to do this, right? And the kid's like, no. Next thing you wake up tomorrow morning, like you wake up at 7 o'clock, the kid's fully dressed, standing by the door, ready to go, yeah? You got it in his, yeah. His desires are, he wants some variety. He wants whatever he wants, whatever he sees in those, he's a little kid, but kids want variety, yeah? Maybe they feel significance if they know how to make a nice project, or whatever it is. So you tie it into his emotional needs, and he's with you. If you tell him, if you don't go, you're not getting any ice cream. I don't care. Not doing that. Yeah, I'm not thinking about ice cream right now. Or you're going to be standing in the corner. All right. I'd rather stand in the corner than have the pain of going to cheder or going to kindergarten tomorrow morning. No way. Yeah? Same idea. Now, when you're married, very often it happens that a husband and wife, when they first get married, they automatically provide each other's human needs. But sometimes that tends to go away from each other. Like, for example, the husband comes home or he sees his wife and he's so happy and she lights up to see him. Or she comes home and he lights up to see her. But after a while, it can become, without any investment, which is not our topic right now, it can become, oh, whatever. So then it becomes whatever. Wait a second, I felt such significance when I saw you. And now I feel like, well, I'm like, the mail that shows up, like the stuff you delete. Yeah? Like, well, I don't feel significance. Maybe we had a lot of love and connection. Now it's less love and connection. Or certainty. I knew you were always in my corner. Now it's like, well, did you take out the garbage? Are we making enough money? Whatever it is. Less certainty now. So if a person who has these needs doesn't get them from the vehicle he used to get them from, he leaves the vehicle and he goes someplace else. He looks other place. So let's say I have a nice loyal couple, husband and wife. They're not going to leave each other, but they don't get the juice of life. They don't get their main needs from each other. That is a time bomb in a relationship. Now, what do you do about that? So you say, well, what are my husband's top 2 human needs? He loves variety? Great. Let me be the vehicle for his variety. What are his rules for variety? Now, I'm being very, very black and white. Like, a relationship is more than this. But this is important to understand. If you want to understand, like, why is my husband running after all the time playing poker with his friends? Like, none of them are as pretty as I am. What's going on with that? You know, he gets love and connection from them. What's going on? Well, he gets something. Maybe he's getting less from me right now. Yeah? Maybe he's getting more variety and I'm not providing so much variety for him, or he's getting more certainty. Because like when he comes home, I think it's safe to tell him about all the things that I'm worried about, and he's already too overburdened and I shouldn't tell him about the things I'm worried about right now. So he's like, oh no, what's my wife gonna say? Now this, now that. He gets no certainty, you know? Or who knows what. So if you want to have a good marriage, you have to figure out what are his human needs and how do you provide them yourself. And the same thing with him. Yeah.
But everybody has the same 6 human needs. It's just like whichever ones come first.
It's not just whatever comes first, it's also how you do it. I'll give you an example. The question is, does everyone have the same 6 human needs? They do. But what's called the 6 human, I'll give you an example. It's different for different people based on their rules and also their values. So one person named Osama bin Laden, he might get his significance from knocking over the World Trade Center. His rules are significance means I take the next step in the revolution to, you know, free the world of the Western tyranny. Whatever, I'm making up my, you know, my story. You get the, that's his rules, right? Another person says, no, I get my significance by saving people that are in towers that are on fire. Different rule. So one guy's killing people to get significance, another guy's saving people to get significance, or maybe even dying to get significance. Yeah? Different rule. Now, it's also important in terms of, let's say, love and connection. How do you know your husband loves you? Give me an example. How would you know your husband really loves you?
He tells you he loves you.
Tells you he loves you. Good. What else? How else?
Actions.
Actions, for example. He suddenly paints the garage? He mows the lawn? Oh, he loves me. What type of actions? Actions, good.
Something which makes me feel happy.
What makes you feel happy?
Cooking for me.
Cooking for you. Good, cooking for you. He cooks something for you. Beautiful, right? He goes on for you. What else?
Spend time with you.
Time. So we have words, actions, time, right? Some people say, I don't care what words he says. If he doesn't cook dinner for me, he doesn't love me. Others say, I don't care how much dinner he cooks for me. If he doesn't tell me he doesn't love me. Others say, like, I don't care what he says, I don't care what he does. If he's not there, he don't care. You know what I'm saying? It depends on you. There's a beautiful book called Love Languages. Love Languages is basically all about the rules of just the language of love. But there's other rules. There's other rules for tons of things. How do I know he's responsible? Well, that depends. Responsible might mean he works hard. Responsible might mean no, he gets advice whenever he needs to. Responsible might be he thinks ahead. Responsible might mean that no, when it's a crisis, he drops everything and takes care of it. Different rule. Understand? Does that make sense? Did I answer your question? Okay? Yeah.
Let's say you're in a relationship, you're not married yet, okay? It's just curious, because you said husband and wife specifically. Do you...
Oh, I'm a rabbi in Jerusalem, so yes.
I'm saying because like you had a date first, right? So when you're dating, do you analyze the person and their needs, and you know, to make them feel certainty to get, like, let's say that someone needs advice, do you go out of your way to...
Well, that depends.
Because that's, you know what I mean? Or are you looking for it?
Well, I mean, my philosophy of dating is that dating is for the purpose of finding the right one.
Well, yeah.
If that's your philosophy, then you don't necessarily want to address his emotional needs first. You want to say, is he the right one? He is. Now I'm fully involved. Now we want to get married. Fantastic. But before that, you don't want to, because you don't want to be the vehicle to someone's emotional needs that's not your husband. That's not the person you're going to want to spend the rest of your, if you know, that's a value judgment, of course.
I'll talk about more later, but yeah.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Yeah, in that sense, for sure. Yeah. The same thing goes with your kids. This particular kid loves certainty. So if he wants to go out, you want to go on a trip with him. He's like, I don't want to go. Tell him, like, you know, don't worry. I'm going to tell you exactly what's going to happen on every step of the trip. First, we're going to go here, then we do this, blah, blah, blah. If we don't know, I'm going to tell you we don't know, but you stay next to me, then he's happy. The other kid doesn't care about certainty at all. He wants variety. Well, the other kid wants love and connection. So I get love and connection by staying with my friends. If I go on a trip, nobody knows me. But we're going to have a special connection with mommy and Abba and the children of the family. We're going to have such a connection. whoa, we're never going to forget this, we're going to talk about this forever. You're talking her language for love and connection. You don't say, stay with me, you won't be afraid. I'm not afraid in the first place. She has a different need. Make sense? Now, sometimes it happens that your life is a little bit out of kilter. At a certain point in your life, you were focusing on a certain need. Let's say it's a certainty, right? I'm first out of college now, or I'm in college, I'm out of high school, or I just got married, whatever the situation is, like I just lost my job, or I'm starting a new situation, I moved. You need to have certainty. Sometimes it's like that. But you can't stay there because sometimes it becomes unbalanced. So let's say the example is a person wants significance. Let's say a husband, I'm just giving this an example, right? A husband wants significance. So his rule is if I make a lot of money and I have a lot of fame, I'm like powerful, whatever it is, I get a lot of significance, right? But he may say, listen, all that rule might take him away from his wife and his children. It might make, I get a lot of power and fame when I'm in the office. So he may decide, you know what? I'm running too much after significance. I need to work more on love and connection with my family now. That's one way to do it. It's hurting my family. I can't do that. It can shift his priorities. You can do that. You can consciously decide, I'm shifting now. Or he may decide, my rules are stupid. The people I worked for the last 10 years and got all that honor from, I get all that significance and whatever, I get love and connection from them, they forget about me. As soon as I'm not worth it for the company, they'll fire me. But my wife and my children, my family, they're forever. The real significance is with them. He changes his rule and his whole life changes. Make sense? Examine the rules that you have. Ask yourself, is that a humane rule or a crazy rule that's making me crazy? Yeah? Has to be a certain way. Yeah? Okay, now, any questions? No? You see how this radically changed your life? Not necessarily. Ask yourself, what are your top two human needs and how do you get them? Are they healthy vehicles or they're negative vehicles? If they're negative vehicles, ask yourself, well, what can I do to substitute those negatives for positive vehicles? Here's another thing, by the way. When you want to when you have a bad habit, the reason you have a bad habit is because you have a desire, you're getting your 6 human needs from that habit very often. Very often. So you can't just shock yourself out of it. Let's say a person's smoking cigarettes, I want to stop smoking cigarettes, right? You give me a shock every time I smoke, eventually I'll stop smoking. But the human needs that I got out of smoking, I still have. So I'm going to start overeating or whatever, something else, or becoming obsessed, I don't know, whatever, become like nervous about some other reason. Because I need to get those needs in some form. You took the vehicle away, I'll find some other vehicle. The best thing to do is to switch say like, how can I get these needs in a positive way? Yeah.
Do you also have to, in addition to knowing yourself, knowing your number one need, knowing your rules, knowing your vehicle, do you also have to be okay with a certain level of not having that need met at times?
Of course.
Instead of always trying to have that need met, you have to like be okay with, okay, this need is not 100% met right now.
Of course you can. That's a very good question, right? I'm glad I actually forgot, so it's very important, right? The question is, well, maybe I can't always have that need met. A child has to have their needs met instantly, otherwise they have a temper tantrum, right? The president I wanted didn't get elected, so whatever it is, I'm not being political, whatever it is, so they have a temper tantrum. Let's say, or the other way around, would have been a temper tantrum also. Either way, would have been a temper tantrum. Yeah? I'm not being political. Now, right, I don't actually have an opinion. But anyway, the Maisa, here's how it works, right? But there's another thing too. If you have a low level of your emotional needs being met, you have a need. It's not a desire, it's a need. Like, what if I don't get enough oxygen? I'll just have to settle. No. I drop everything and get it. You know what I'm saying? It's not a desire, right? So if you're getting very little of the needs that you need, you're usually either depressed or chas v'shalom, a person can be suicidal if it becomes very extreme. Because they have none of their human needs and they don't even see a way of getting it. That's what really suicidal is. They feel like they don't have a way of getting anywhere, right? If they're getting their needs in a high way, they're very excited, they're very happy. If they're getting their needs in what's called no man's land, between, let's say, on a scale of 1 to 10, between 4 and 6, it's not enough of a reason to I don't have enough pain that I try to change, but I'm not really happy either. That's really the worst. So you have to ask yourself, which range are you in? Am I in if you're in the low range between 1 to 3, you'll have so much pain you'll change anyway. You'll look for some way to get them. If you're in the high range, you'll stay there. Yeah? If you're in the middle range, which is what a lot of people are, no man's land, Well, my wife calls it wet diaper syndrome. Excuse me for saying that. Wet diaper syndrome is a little baby, like a 2-year-old, or not 2-year-old, like a 1-year-old baby. If they have a wet diaper, they don't have pain. They're not comfortable, but they don't like the pain of going through the change of a diaper change either. I'll just stay here, yeah? Like, you don't want to be in that situation. So sometimes it's good to tolerate your lack of human needs, but sometimes it's not good at all. Like, I'm not really not getting what I need, I'm going to break eventually. If I don't get enough oxygen, I'm going to die. The other thing is to say, well, I don't need to have them now, but I need to be making progress towards getting them. That's really the key to happiness is really like, do I feel like I'm making progress? I feel like there's hope, there's a direction, then I'm happy. Okay, any other questions?
So it's important to have all 6 of the human needs.
Yeah, all 6, that's right. Now there is one level, there's one thing which we didn't mention. All of this is what's called shalol lishma, which means you're doing it for selfish reasons, or it's like a need. But there is a higher thing. There's a certain level of altruism which is beyond any of your needs. You can describe that as what they call lishma, which is I'm not doing this because I'm not doing this because I have a need for it, because this has to be done now, having nothing to do with me. Sometimes it has to be done because someone else has a need. I'm not thinking about myself. If you see a car accident and someone needs help, you're not thinking about what are my 6 human needs. Oh, I'll feel certainty if I help that person. This person's in trouble, I gotta help them. You're not thinking about yourself at all. So a lot of people do things for that reason. Now, eventually, if you do a lot of it because let's say you become a paramedic or a doctor, right? So then you get your 6 human needs through doing that. That's fine. Contribution's very high for your growth or significance, whatever. Yeah? But now and then it happens. There's another idea also which is above this too, which is lishma, which is I'm doing it because God says, not because I have any of my human needs. If I have to clean my house for Passover to make sure there's no chametz, there's no bread or any bread crumbs or stuff like that, or I stop working on Shabbat, it's not because I suddenly feel significant or growth and contribution. It's because my values are that this is more important. A person who's spiritually developed, when there's a value in contradiction to a need, the value wins out. A person who's not spiritually developed, like a child, yeah, I have a need and I have a value. Well, my need's not so strong because I'm not so developed, so I'd rather have that piece of cookie even though it's Yom Kippur. That type of thing. I'm a little kid. Like a little kid, you don't even try to tell him to fast on Yom Kippur because he's a little kid, he can't do that. Yeah? It's the same idea. So there's a whole level which is beyond this, which we're not talking about, which is called lishma. That's above it. It's for idealistic reasons. And that could be you do all kinds of things that has nothing to do with this. And when you tie into a spiritual drive like that, all of these things become secondary, and you can get all of them in a totally different way, and your life just becomes a different level. Okay? Most people are not living there. And day to day, you don't live there. And even if you get there, you start to associate your own. Let's say a person is a religious person, right? So they keep Shabbos every single week. So a person who keeps Shabbos will start to feel these needs or not these needs if he doesn't keep Shabbos. Like an intense sense of uncertainty if he's in a car and the sun is setting on Friday afternoon. Yeah? I'll feel totally insignificant personally if I accidentally ate something that wasn't kosher. You understand what I'm saying? So that's another story. Okay? One last thing I just want to say. What I'm saying here doesn't come from me. I didn't make up any of this stuff. This is all basically from a wonderful person who I think is very, very good in terms of training this type of stuff. His name is Anthony Robbins, if you've heard of him before. It's almost all of his stuff. It's not mine. I don't claim to be mine. You shouldn't think it's mine. It's a wonderful source. I can't actually openly endorse him because when he speaks with a lot of profanity, and that would be inappropriate for me to, but you can read his books. It's pretty good. Okay? A book that talks about this a little bit. Well, there aren't too many books about it. There's a book that's about money that talks about this. Most of his new books don't talk about it. Okay? All the best, ladies. Great to see you. Baruch, what's up?